The wedding photos fooled everyone. The smiles were perfect, the setting elegant, the couple framed by white flowers and soft light. What no one could see was that the bride standing there in ivory silk had not walked down the aisle for love. She had walked down with a plan sharp enough to cut, a heart armored by betrayal, and a vow that had nothing to do with forever. She married him to get revenge. She never expected that the very man she used would become the one who slowly, painfully, taught her how to love again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of love to change even the hardest hearts, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in redemption, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. Ava Mitchell had once believed in love with the blind faith of someone who had never been hurt. She grew up in a small coastal town in Oregon, raised by a mother who believed that honesty was the greatest form of strength, and a father who taught her that trust was sacred. Ava carried those lessons with her when she moved to Chicago after college, ambitious and hopeful, certain the world would meet her goodness with the same energy. That belief shattered the night she discovered that the man she planned to marry, the man she had trusted with her dreams, had been living a double life. He wasn't just unfaithful. He had used her connections, her ideas, and her emotional labor to climb his way into a powerful corporate family, leaving her discarded the moment she no longer served his ambition. The betrayal was public, humiliating, and devastating. Friends chose sides. Whispers followed her into rooms. The man who broke her walked away rewarded. Engaged within months to a woman whose last name opened doors Ava had never been allowed near. The injustice burned deeper than heartbreak. It hardened into something cold and focused. Ava didn't want apologies. She wanted balance. She wanted the people who had benefited from her silence to feel the weight of consequence. And that was when she noticed him. Ethan Carter was the quiet shadow in the same elite circles that now praised her ex. He was respected, successful, and inconveniently honorable. He also happened to be the estranged son of the very family that had embraced the man who ruined her life. Ethan had walked away from that world years ago, choosing to build his own real estate empire without the corruption and politics of his lineage. The family resented him for it, and Ava saw opportunity in that resentment. If she married Ethan, the headlines alone would sting. If she became his wife, she would force herself into the narrative that had tried to erase her. The plan was simple on the surface and ruthless underneath. She would approach Ethan with honesty, or at least a version of it, a marriage of convenience, mutual benefit, public image for him, social access, and quiet revenge for her. Ava expected resistance, arrogance, or manipulation. What she didn't expect was calm consideration. Ethan listened without interruption, weighed her words, and agreed with boundaries so clear they almost unsettled her. There would be respect. There would be no lies. And if either of them wanted out, they would leave without destroying each other. The wedding was tasteful and fast. Ava told herself the hollow feeling in her chest was relief, not doubt. She had achieved her goal. The people who once looked through her now watched her closely. Her ex avoided rooms she entered. The family that had once dismissed her now smiled tightly and called her by her new last name. The revenge tasted quieter than she imagined, but it was still satisfying. Yet something unexpected began to happen in the silence of their shared home. Ethan was not the cold pawn she had envisioned. He was thoughtful in ways that didn't announce themselves. He remembered how she took her coffee without being asked. He gave her space on days when grief crept up uninvited. He never demanded affection, never reminded her of the terms of their arrangement. Instead, he lived his life with a steadiness that made her feel both safe and exposed. Ava had built walls expecting to defend herself against cruelty, not kindness. Her struggle was internal and relentless. Every instinct told her not to trust what felt good. She had learned the hard way that love could be a transaction disguised as devotion. When Ethan showed vulnerability, speaking openly about his fractured relationship with his family and the cost of choosing integrity over approval, Ava felt something shift. She saw herself in his quiet loneliness. She recognized the exhaustion of being strong alone. As months passed, the public narrative softened. The marriage that was supposed to be strategic began to look genuine even to Ava herself. She found comfort in mundane routines, in late evenings spent working in parallel silence, in the rare moments of laughter that caught her off guard. But with comfort came fear. Loving Ethan would mean admitting that her foundation had been built on manipulation. It would mean confessing that she had used him. And that truth threatened to destroy the very thing she had grown to cherish. The turning point came not with drama, but with choice. Ava was offered an opportunity that would have completed her revenge in full, a public revelation that would have exposed the corruption of the family that wronged her and humiliated the man who betrayed her. It would have elevated her career overnight, but it would also have dragged Ethan into a scandal he had spent his life avoiding. For the first time, Ava had to confront who she had become, the woman driven by pain or the woman learning to heal. She walked away from the opportunity, not because it wasn't justified, but because it no longer aligned with the person she was becoming. That decision cost her professionally in the short term, but it freed something inside her that revenge never had. Ethan noticed the shift before she spoke of it. He saw the weight lift, the anger soften, the guardedness loosen. And in that space, something real finally had room to breathe. Ava's greatest challenge remained unspoken. The truth sat heavy between them, poisoning every tender moment. She knew that love built on omission was still a lie. The fear of losing Ethan battled with the need to honor the trust he had given her without condition. When she finally faced the truth, it wasn't dramatic. It was raw, stripped of excuses, offered without expectation of forgiveness. She told him everything, the plan, the revenge, the way she never intended to fall for him. The aftermath was quiet and devastating. Ethan didn't rage, he withdrew. The distance hurt more than anger ever could. Ava was forced to sit with the consequences of her actions without the comfort of justification. She had to accept that love did not guarantee absolution. For weeks, they lived in the same house like strangers, both grieving different versions of the same relationship. What brought them back was not a grand gesture, but consistency. Ava showed up with honesty every day. She gave Ethan space while making it clear she was not leaving. She took responsibility publicly and privately, refusing to let him carry the weight of her choices. Ethan, in turn, had to confront his own fear of vulnerability. Loving Ava meant risking betrayal again, and that fear was as real as her guilt. Slowly, deliberately, they rebuilt, this time without pretense. The love that emerged was quieter but stronger, grounded in mutual accountability and respect. Ava learned that revenge had been a symptom, not a solution. Ethan learned that forgiveness did not mean forgetting, but choosing to move forward without letting the past define the future. As the years passed, their story became less about how it began and more about how it endured. Ava found purpose in mentoring young women navigating careers where ambition often came at the cost of self-worth. Ethan reconciled with parts of his family on his own terms, no longer seeking approval but offering boundaries. Together, they created a life that honored both pain and growth. Just before the ending of this story, take a moment to comment below and share your thoughts. Do you believe love can grow from the most broken beginnings? Have you ever seen kindness change someone who didn't expect it? On their anniversary, years after that calculated wedding, Ava stood in front of the same ocean where she once dreamed of a simpler love. She realized that love had found her anyway, not because she deserved it, but because she chose to become someone capable of giving it honestly. She had married him to get revenge. She stayed because she fell in love. And in doing so, she learned that the bravest thing a person can do is let go of who they were to become who they are meant to be. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that healing is possible and that love can rise from even the most unlikely places, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, and it means more than you know.